I was asking you before about potential cooperation between the United States and Syria, but the problem that many would have with that is the continued allegations of human rights abuses by your government. Now, just today, we have a new report from Amnesty International about Sadaya prison, human slaughterhouse, they call it, 5,000 to 13,000 detainees hanged in mass hangings there, horrific conditions, trials of blindfolded prisoners, 1 to 3 minutes in length, no lawyers, secret, all in secret. This would, on its face, be contrary to every aspect of international law.
Yeah.
What do you know about what's going on in that prison?
Let's first of all talk about the first part of your question, which is the problem for the United States to open a relation with Syria regarding the human rights. I would ask you, how could you have this close, very close relation, intimate relation with Saudi Arabia? Do you consider beheading as a human right criteria?
Yes, but I'm not interviewing the King of Saudi Arabia right now. I'm interviewing you.
Yeah,
and I'm asking you about reports of human rights abuses in your prison, in your country.
You own the question, I own the answers. So that's my answer. So when you answer about Saudi Arabia and your relation, you can put yourself in that position. Second, the United States is in no position to talk about human rights. Since Vietnam War till this moment, they killed millions of civilians. If you don't want to talk about 1.5 million in Iraq without any assignment by the Security Council. So the United States is in no position to say, I don't open a relation because of human rights, and they have to use one standard. This is first. The second part now.
Yes.
Now I can move to the right. That report, like many other reports published by Amnesty International, put into question the credibility of Amnesty International, and we never look at it as unbiased. It's always biased and politicized, and it's shame for such organization to publish a report without a shred of evidence. They said it's based on interviews. Interviews. What about the document? What about the concrete evidence? Not single
interviews with 4 former prison officials and guards, 3 former Syrian judges, 3 doctors at the prisons. It means nothing.
No, it's interview. No. When you need to make a report, you need evidence, concrete evidence. You can make any report. You can pay money to anyone, like Qatar did last year. They paid money for such a report, and they brought their own witnesses, and they made a report.
The process, I want to just read you something from the report. The process of the hangings is authorized by officials at the highest levels of the government. Death sentences are approved by the Grand Mufti of Syria and by either the Minister of Defense or the Chief of Staff of the Army, who are deputized to act on behalf of President Bashar al-Assad.
First of all, what the evidence? So this is first.
Is it true or not?
No, it's not true. Definitely not true.
How do you know? Do you know what goes on in that prison? Have you been there?
No, I haven't been. I've been in the presidential palace, not in the prison.
So here you have a very disturbing report about something going on in one of your prisons. Are you going to investigate?
So Amnesty International knows more about Syria than me, according to you. No, that's not true. No. They haven't been to Syria. They only base their reports on allegation. They can bring anyone, doesn't matter what's his title. You can forge anything these days. And we're living in a fake news era, as you know. Everybody knows this. So we don't have to depend on this. Second, you have to talk about reality. They said in their report that we made serial executions. Is that correct?
Yes, mass hangings.
First of all, execution is part of the Syrian law. If the Syrian government or institution wants to do it, they can make it legally because it's been there for decades.
Secret trials, no lawyers?
Why do they need it if they can make it legally? They don't need anything secret.
Is that legal in your country?
Yeah, of course it's legal. For decades since the independence, the execution, according to the law, after a trial, is a legal action, like any other court in many countries in this region.
Will you allow international monitors to visit that prison and inspect and investigate these reports?
It depends on the credibility of that organization, not anyone, because they're going to use this visit just to demonize the Syrian government more and more and more, like what's happening.
This is not the first time that very serious human rights allegations have been made. Just last week, a woman in Spain, Syrian, filed a lawsuit accusing 9 of your senior government intelligence and security officials of human rights abuses. Her brother had disappeared in one of your prisons. You asked about documents. The lawyers who have filed this, accusing your government of human rights abuses, have collected 3,000 pages of evidence and over 50,000 photographs taken by one of your former government's photographers showing emaciated, tortured bodies in your prisons.
Who verified the pictures? Who they verified that they're not edited and photoshopped and so on?
Have you seen the photos?
No, I didn't.
Have you seen the photos?
No. I saw some photos in previous reports, but it's not about the photo. How can you verify the photo?
You have said that the...
Do you have a photo?
I do have the photos.
Can you show it to me?
Yes, I'll be happy to. Here.
Okay. This photo, have you verified who are those?
Because
you have it and because you mention it in front of your audience.
There's a number of photos.
You have to convince your audience. You cannot mention such a picture without verifying who are those and where and everything about it, just to put it in front of the audience, tell them, oh, they've been killed by the Syrian soldiers.
The woman who filed the lawsuit, the Syrian woman who filed the lawsuit, says she saw her brother in those photographs.
At the end, these are allegations. We have to talk about concrete evidence. At the end, that's how you can base your judgment. Not that anyone can say whatever he wants.
You said that you believe these photos may have been doctored. The U.S. State Department gave these photos to the American FBI crime lab, digital lab. They examined these photos and said the bodies and scenes depicted, these are 242 of these images, the bodies and scenes depicted exhibit no artifacts or inconsistencies that would indicate they have been manipulated. As a result of the above observations, all of these 242 images appear to depict real people and events.
Who said that?
The FBI. Have you seen their report?
No. When was that?
That was 2015.
Yeah, the question, when your institutions were honest about what's happening in Syria. That's the question. Never. For us, never. So we don't have to rely on what they say. If the FBI says something, it's not something, it's not evidence for anyone, especially for us. The most important thing, if you take these photos to any court in your country, could they convict any criminal regarding this? Couldn't they tell you what this crime, who committed? If you don't have this full picture, you cannot make judgment. It's just propaganda, it's just fake news. They want to demonize the Syrian government. In every war, you can have any individual crime. It happened all over the world, anywhere, but it's not a policy.
But let me if I hear what you're saying, the FBI is just forwarding propagating propaganda. Amnesty International is propagating propaganda. Everybody is conspiring against the Syrian government. Why?
Ask them.
You're the one making the allegation.
No, I'm not making an allegation. They supported the terrorists. And you go back to what they said. John Kerry, a few months ago, said, by his voice, that we were watching ISIS advancing, and we expected the Syrian president to make concessions. What does it mean? Obama said it in an interview, in one of his speeches, that the war on Iraq created ISIS. So who supported ISIS? We didn't create it. You created. The United States created all this mess. Who supported the rebels and called them moderate rebels while they became ISIS and al-Nusra in Syria? We didn't. So it's not conspiracy. These are facts. This is reality. We didn't give money. We didn't support these terrorists. Your country supported them. UK, France, publicly, and they said they sent armament. We didn't. So you can take that. It's not my allegation. It's your official allegation, including Joe Biden, the vice president of Obama. He said, about Saudi Arabia and other countries
That's
supporting
Saudi
this
Arabia,
extremism.
but the United States...
So if
and
it's allegation, it's their allegation. It's American allegation before it's been Syrian allegation.
The United States and its coalition partners have been bombing ISIS in Iraq and in Syria. It's supporting the Iraqi army in its efforts to liberate Mosul from ISIS. How can you say that the United States is supporting ISIS?
Can you explain to me how could they defeat ISIS in Iraq and ISIS was expanding since the American coalition started
Is it
attacking
expanding
Syria?
now?
It's been expanding. No,
Is it expanding now?
It started shrinking after the Russian intervention, not the American one. How could they use our oil fields and export with thousands of barrel trucks to Turkey without being seen by your drones and by your satellites, while the Russians could be able to do so and attack them and destroy all their facilities? How? This is cosmetic campaign against ISIS.
Just to be clear, I have shown you the FBI report, I've shown you the photographs, I've shown you the Amnesty International report. Will you cooperate in investigations to determine if these very serious reports are in fact true?
You showed me many things, but you didn't show me a single evidence.
I showed you an FBI report.
No, it's not evidence at all. It's actually the contrary. Any American institutions for us during the Syrian crisis was against the realities, was the opposite of the truth. That's how we look at it. So it's not Syrian institution, we don't care about what they say. For me, what I care about is what reports I have from Syrian people. And we had investigations because we have many claims regarding not the mass crimes, actually more individual acts. And we've been investigating many, and many people were punished. But that happened in every war.
Are you disturbed enough about any of this to try to determine the truth yourself?
I think you should show it to the Western officials to ask them that question. Are they disturbed to see what's happening since they started supporting the terrorists in Syria, this killing and this destruction? That's the question. Of course I'm disturbed. I'm Syrian. I have this natural...
you are disturbed about this? About these reports?
What's happening in Syria? No, not about the report.
Not about this?
No.
Okay.
I'm disturbed about what's happening in Syria. It's my country. It's been destroyed by proxy terrorists, of course.
You have acknowledged that your troops in this war have committed mistakes in its prosecution against the rebels, and that anyone could be punished. So how many mistakes are we talking about?
No, I didn't say that. I never said. I said there are always mistakes in any action. That's a human life.
How many mistakes are we talking about? How many innocent civilians have been killed by your government's mistakes?
Nobody knows, because thousands and thousands of those are missing people. Nobody knows anything about their fate. Nobody at all. So you cannot tell till the end of this war.
Was it a mistake to bomb hospitals in Aleppo?
We never bombed hospitals in Aleppo. Why to bomb hospital? Can you convince your audience that we have interests in bombing hospitals? Actually, this is against our interest. This is against our interest to bomb hospital if it's used as hospital. And the proof that it was a lie, every time they talk about bombing hospital, every time they say this is the last hospital in eastern part of Aleppo. And the second time they talk about another hospital and they say the same. They bombed the last hospital. So it's a lies and lies and lies. We can spend the whole interview talking about lies, and we can talk about the truth and the reality. I have to talk about the reality.
Is it a mistake to use barrel bombs and chlorine gas?
You have to choose which part of the narrative is correct. Once they said we are using indiscriminate bombs, and they called it barrel bombs. The other day they said we targeted hospitals and the schools and convoys. We either have precise armaments or we have indiscriminate armament. So which one do you choose?
Will you do acknowledge, though, that innocent civilians, there have been civilian casualties in this war?
Of course, every war is a bad war.
Okay.
Every war is a bad war. You cannot talk about good war. Let's agree about this. Every war has casualty. Every war has innocent people to pay the price. This is the bad thing about war. That's why we need to end that war. But having casualty doesn't mean not to defend our country against the terrorists and against the invasion from abroad through those proxies by foreign countries like the Western countries and the regional ones. That's
President-
self-evident.